Friends, if you want to watch super hit movie The Line in English, then you must like this video. If you are visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Friends, in today's video, the movie we're going to talk about is called The Line. We will talk about what this movie is and where you can watch it. All the interesting about this movie in today's video. I am going to tell you. I am also going to give you all the information on which I request you friends to watch this video till the end. So let's start the video. The Line is a 2023 American drama film directed by Ethan Berger, written by Berger, Alex Russick, and Zach Perto, and starring Alex Wolff, Lewis Pullman, Halle Bailey, Austin Abrams, Angus Cloud, Bo Mitchell, Denise Richards, Cherry O'Terry, Scoot McNairy, and John Malkovich. This was the final film released during Cloud's lifetime before his death on July 31, 2023. Premise: Tom, a passionate brother of his fraternity, is charmed by the promises of high social status and alumni connections that open doors. But as a classmate outside of his social circle named Annabelle enters his life, his devotion begins to falter. Once the scheduled hazing of new fraternity members comes to a disturbing head, Tom is faced with the decision of a lifetime. Cast Alex Wolff as Tom Baxter, Lewis Pullman as Todd Stevens, Halle Bailey as Annabelle Bascom, Austin Abrams as Geddes O'Brien, Angus Cloud as Robert DeWitt, Bo Mitchell as Mitch Miller, Denise Richards as Leanne Cherry O'Terry as Jackie Baxter, Scoot McNairy, John Malkovich as Beach Miller, Will Ropp as Bain Ellis, Graham Patrick Martin as Connor Murphy, Nicholas Bazile as Frank Vitti, Drew Pipkin as Bill Roberts. In March 2019, it was announced that Wolff would star in the film along with Malkovich, McNairy, Jessica Barden, and Pullman. Release. The film premiered at the Tribeca Festival on June 9, 2023. In May 2024, Utopia acquired distribution rights to the film and scheduled it for a select release on October 18, 2024, before expanding on October 23, 2024. Reception. On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, 76% of 21 critics' reviews are positive, with an average rating of 7.4/10. Taylor Gates of Collider graded the film a B+ and wrote, "It's a sophisticated commentary wrapped up in a beer-soaked package and is sure to linger with you long after the credits roll." Murtada Afadal of Variety gave the film a positive review and wrote, "As Tom's world crumbles, Wolff adapts his performance, which becomes more raw, adding sensitivity and disillusionment." Lovia Giarchi of The Hollywood Reporter also gave the film a positive review and wrote, "Enthralling, even when it doesn't go deep." Samantha Bergeson of IndieWire graded the film an A-, calling it absolutely one of the most accurate films about fraternity life ever made. Chad Collins of Dread Central awarded the film 4 stars out of 5, calling it a terrifying debut from director Ethan Berger. Pete Hammond of Deadline Hollywood also gave the film a positive review and wrote, "The deck is stacked in The Line, but the ultimate message, which is you are best to steer clear of the frat world at all costs, comes through loud and clear." The Line, the feature debut of writer-director Ethan Berger, won't tell you anything you likely don't already know about modern fraternity life. In fact, it spends its 100 minutes dutifully beating that drum, alongside Daniel Rawson's percussive, cheeky score, offering a crisp, The Social Network UI drama about the predatory and stifling Greek culture that rapidly twists its young pledges into booze and coke-riddled miscreants. And yet, for all its comparative lack of insight, there's something intriguing about the ride, due chiefly to a pair of fascinating lead performances and a fatalistic sense of humor. In its opening titles, we see a montage of fraternity class portraits throughout history, reams of smiling, smug, privileged faces, often dressed in suits, daring the audience to question the primacy Greek life is soon to gift them. As our protagonist, Tom, Alex Wolff, is all too aware, access to a fraternity community and its famous alumni gets you proximity to important people, relationship building, career, and even political opportunities. And so it goes as he enters his sophomore year at a Southern university, now a firmly entrenched member of Kappa Nu Alpha, or KA as its members shout, cult-like. He's already well set. He lives with his best friend Mitch, Bo Mitchell, a porcine party boy who's mostly in the frat because his dad, John Malkovich, comes from money, and his Florida accent has already warped into a long-voweled, learned Southern drawl that his exasperated single mom, O'Terry, describes as faux Forrest Gump. Sure, it's a performance. But unlike many of his brothers, he comes from a working-class background, so he knows he has to play the game. So he schmoozes with Mitch's dad over dinner and cozies up to the quietly confident chapter president, Louis Pullman, who's taken him under his wing. Always align yourself with the best, Malkovich purrs over a restaurant table. That's the recipe. This year will test him in ways he couldn't anticipate, particularly as Mitch's boorish antics clash with the natural social order of the frat and buttheads with a particularly rebellious pledge, Austin Abrams, who's uninterested in playing the humiliating hazing rituals the house has already racked up 17 violations performing. As soon as Berger and co-writers Zach Perdo and Alex Russek's script treats you to the phrase, "Have you ever seen a fish on the wall with its mouth shut?" you know the line is hurtling you to the inevitable consequence of KNA's coked-up bacchanalia and the weight it will carry for Tom. But it's the hour or so leading up to that moment, a fateful escalation of all the violence Greek life teases, that impresses most. Berger lays out the pieces of KNA's specific quirks and habits nicely, and the dynamics each character falls into. It's all hypermasculinity, gay jokes, snorted lines of cocaine, and monologues designed after the big war speech from Gladiator. There's an ethnographic approach to Berger's work, aided capably by Stefan Weinberger's moody cinematography. Scenes in the frat house carry a sparsely lit, almost haunted quality. To sell us on the insular dens of macho competition these frat houses become, the cast is uniformly excellent, with some nice supporting turns from both young, Pullman, Abrams, Angus Cloud, and seasoned, Cherry O'Terry, Denise Richards, Scoot McNairy performers. But Wolff carries the thing mightily on his shoulders. Tom is a dunderhead, to be sure, but you can see the glimmers of goodness within him, or at least the slight scruples he develops when he finds himself in over his head. Halle Bailey appears in a subplot as a more liberal-minded black student whose presence both opens his eyes to non-frat perspectives and teasing from his brothers, but her scenes offer little beyond a moral sounding board. The true discovery, though, is Mitchell's Mitch, whose weight and abrasiveness are clear sources of insecurity for him. He's roughly analogous to Piggy from Lord of the Flies, or Gomer Pyle from Full Metal Jacket, the group punching bag whose recognition of his outsider status just sends him into more outsized behavior. He plays that insecurity well, creating a creature both loathsome and pitiable at the same time. It might play out like a thriller at times, but there's no shortage of pitch-black humor. Berger invites you to guffaw at these buffoons as they razz each other over everything from golf cart rides to forgetting to order strippers for an off-campus retreat. The reoccurring use of Eiffel 65's Blue Dabadi puts a delectable button on the idiocy in which these pledges must partake. But by the end, it becomes a poignant, if predictable, fable about the dangers of denial and the toxic violence inherent to fraternity culture. It's amped up and disturbing, but as an elegantly placed TV screen in the background of its final seconds indicates, hardly the stuff of fantasy. First-time filmmaker Ethan Berger brings an energetic rhythm to a familiar story of hazing rituals getting out of hand in Tribeca-selected university thriller. Set within a typically raucous fraternity at a fictional college, Ethan Berger's The Line foretells where it's headed early on, when the school administrator warns of repercussions if a hazing is performed. Consider Chekhov's gun cocked from that point. Audiences can guess what awaits, though the lead-up to the inevitable is lively and compelling, while also affording a slew of rising actors a chance to display their talent. Written by Berger and Alex Russek, The Line focuses on Tom, Alex Wolff, a sophomore striving to overcome his impoverished background, who believes that belonging to a fraternity is a chance for opportunities and connections. Things look promising when he's picked by the fraternity's president, Todd, Louis Pullman, as a potential successor. He starts seeing an attractive fellow student, Halle Bailey, but trouble starts when a new pledge, Getty's, Austin Abrams, decides to make an enemy of Tom's best friend, Mitch, Bo Mitchell. Since Getty's is one of Todd's favorites, Tom finds himself caught in the middle. When the frats gather together, they are constantly trash-talking each other, with casual misogyny and homophobia lacerating practically every put-down. These scenes aren't exactly fun to watch, but are appropriately incisive. as the young men perform for one another, performing masculinity, performing coolness, performing disdain of anyone who's not part of their team. There's always loud music in the background, making what they say hard to decipher. Not that it matters, since the context is clear. Their threats have a veneer of humor about them, though all this bottled energy suggests a disturbing capacity for violence. Wolff, who's had showcase supporting roles in Hereditary and Pig, has the spotlight to himself this time. The actor gives a focused, attention-grabbing performance, working from the outside in, with an affected, long-voweled voice, called Forrest Gump by his mother, played by Cherry O'Terry, and measured, studied pose and walk. As Tom's world crumbles, Wolff adapts his performance, which becomes more raw, adding sensitivity and disillusionment. That voice is also sported by Pullman, and when they talk to each other, Tom's inspiration and adulation become apparent. Also clear are these two characters' utter inexperience and misunderstanding of the world. They are just posturing, as the actors convey the utter fear they feel below that faux authoritative surface. Making for a fitting antagonist is Abrams, who brings a careless insouciance to his character. Every line is dropped with assured arrogance. Later, when he goads his enemies by making all kinds of suggestive sexual gestures as he dances to the Wanted's "Glad You Came" at a party, the audience knows this can't end well. In a cameo role as an influential and powerful parent, John Malkovich gives his brief scenes sinister foreboding, accentuating the film's ominous atmosphere. Bailey, now the film's biggest star owing to her leading role in The Little Mermaid, has only a few scenes as the requisite love interest. It's a pleasant diversion to see Tom more relaxed as he tentatively falls in love, and Bailey's understated but charismatic performance shows why he would be with this particular woman. While the character ought to serve as a counterpoint to the toxic fraternity scene, providing Tom with a different worldview, the relationship is not fully explored and ends up being muted and trivial to the plot. Working with editor Ted Feldman, Berger finds a kinetic rhythm. Instead of trying to say too much, as some first-timers do, the director tells a specific story with a knowing, authentic feel for the environment in which it's set. Though his targets remain obvious and easy. Rich, powerful people are above the law. Young men are imprisoned by macho traditions they never examine, and the circle will go on. While the line doesn't offer an especially unique take on this milieu, it plays well and acts as a solid showcase for its young cast. There have been plenty of movies detailing life in a fraternity, Animal House being the crown jewel of all, no matter how outrageously funny. The newest entry in the genre, The Line, which premiered at the Tribeca Festival this weekend, is not trying to amuse on any level. A deadly, serious take on college frat houses, it looks like it was ripped straight from the many headlines about hazing deaths and horrific goings-on at these places. However, for at least its first half to first two-thirds, this feature film debut for director Ethan Berger, who also co-wrote the script with Alex Rusek, is aiming to entertain with a look at the fictional Southern Kappa Nu Alpha fraternity in all its vile, sick, crass ugliness. If the goal was to make us hate these guys, the filmmakers succeed admirably. By the end, I wanted to see every last one of them expelled and the house shut down for good. What it seems to be saying, no matter how egregious the behavior, is that only the faces change over time, not the attitude. The deck is stacked in The Line, but the ultimate message, which is you are best to steer clear of the frat world at all costs, comes through loud and clear. Our protagonist, such as he is Tom, Alex Wolff, who seems somewhat conflicted about his membership in the fraternity as he begins his sophomore year with obnoxious, and that is being kind and thoroughly repulsive and unbearable roommate and BFF Bo Mitchell, who is egging him on to be just as gross as he is. The others who would be right at home in Lord of the Flies don't seem to be much better. They all could be future Trumpers. At least in the 2014 scenario laid out here, and that includes the student leader of KNA, Todd, Lewis Pullman, who is trying to keep the place out of trouble and has been sternly warned no hazing of any kind will be tolerated by university officials. Of course you know there will be, or you don't have a movie. For the most part, these guys fit the stereotype we see in fraternity films: misogynistic cokeheads, racist, sexist, homophobic, and generally repugnant human beings. Berger and Rusick serve up a lot of this, almost to the point where the line crosses the line before the real trouble and heart of the action starts. That all centers around a new, take-no-bullshit pledge named Geddes, Austin Abrams, who we are told by Todd is desired by every frat house on Greek Row. Mitch is having none of that, however, and will lead the charge against him to make sure this dude is hazed to within an inch of his life. Then there is the person they shorthand as the black lesbian, Annabelle, the Little Mermaid's Halle Bailey, who strikes up a dialogue with Tom but is right to be skeptical about him and his buddies. She still manages to give Tom what humanity he appears to have. The meat of it all comes during the inevitable and well-detailed hazing scene as things rock out of control. Think West Side Story's Rumble, and an accidental death, or maybe not so accidental, occurs and freaks everyone out. Their attempts to hide the evidence, i.e. the body, and avoid responsibility lead to confrontation with the cops, led by the chief detective, Scoot McNairy. Will anyone get blamed? Will Tom see the light? Will Kappa Nu Alpha be banned? It is not so black and white, just as life isn't either. A touch of real life, in fact, happens over the end credits as we see acknowledgement of the horrendous death caused by hazing of Penn State's Timothy Piazza, whose devastated parents cooperated and seemingly encouraged the making of this film, even though it is otherwise fictional. It was a smart move to add this as a reminder that this sort of activity doesn't just happen in the movies. Shot during COVID in just 3 weeks, give props to Berger for getting his first feature up there on the screen and impressively cast as well. Wolff, always one to watch, bites into this role and nails it, as does Bailey, in a role that couldn't be further from her current box office hit. Pullman is excellent, and I was really impressed with Abrams, who is one of those young actors who can steal any scene he is in. He's going places. Angus Cloud gets the stoner role, and some well-known performers turn up briefly along the way, including Mitch's wealthy parents, John Malkovich and Denise Richards, as well as Cherry O'Terry. All in, The Line, which is one of the Tribeca titles looking for distribution, and is likely to get it, serves as a calling card for Berger, who shows promise with this first effort and a real eye for talent, no matter how unpleasant spending time with this bunch ultimately is. Producers are Alexandra Dalmon, Jack Parker, Adam Paulson, and Ligia Sarkey. The Line follows Tom as he learns the same devastating lessons Richard did. Berger, who co-wrote the screenplay with Alex Rusick, telegraphs the tragedy early, which means we don't need to piece together a mystery. Instead, we can closely observe the behaviors of the young men of KNA, the fictitious fraternity at the center of the drama. Many of them are scions of American nobility. Their parents are popular politicians and well-connected businessmen whose influence permeates campus life. These boys, and really they are boys when you think about it, enter collegiate life armed with the security afforded by this legacy. So what exactly are they trying to prove? As with most films about the perils of Greek life, the answers are rooted in misogyny. The insular KNA community nurtures an unhealthy appetite for belonging and a desperate need for approval. The Line opens in 2014 with Tom's mother, Cherry O'Terry, calling him out for his posturing. A faux Forrest Gump accent, non-stop talk of his fraternity's presidential alumni, and creeping entitlement have made him a worse breakfast companion. They are signs of Tom's slow transformation. Later, at dinner with his friend Mitch, Bo Mitchell, and Mitch's parents, Tom dons his fake Southern accent and lies about where he worked over the summer. The Line's interests, the pressure of Greek life, the toxicity of hypermasculinity, the corrosiveness of white privilege, play out in the interactions between Tom and his family, his friends, and later his crush, Annabelle, an underused Halle Bailey. Wolff, Hereditary, impresses, deftly modulating his performance so we can't land too easily in one emotional camp. Excessive sympathy or complete ire. Tom wants to fit in, to overcome his class anxieties by transcending them, and KNA offers at first the easiest route. As a sophomore, Tom is now on the other side of hazing rituals. A new class of freshmen means he has the chance to prove his competence and fidelity to the chapter president, Todd, a chillingly good Lewis Pullman. When the school bans hazing activities from campus, members must move cautiously. But Mitch, Tom's closest friend and roommate, starts feuding with Pledge Geddes O'Brien, Austin Abrams, and adopts a more vengeful hazing style, making him a liability. To side with Mitch, a pariah in the frat, would mean risking his own good standing. Not defending his friend, however, proves equally dangerous within his own Pledge class, its members played by Graham Patrick Martin and Angus Cloud, among others. Hazing-related deaths and injuries in the U.S. aren't collected in a single database, but the frequency with which they make headlines is chilling. The line explores this reality convincingly and, with the assistance of DP Stefan Weinberger, Berger shows how easily these situations turn fatal. His cool directorial style treats the hazing scenes with a clinical touch, turning them into ethnographic studies. That distance doesn't help when it comes to the line's more interesting thread: how the fraternity activates Tom's socioeconomic anxieties. The sophomore endures a lot of humiliation to gain approval. His olive skin prompts his frat brothers to refer to him as a jihadi. They mock his interest in Annabelle because she's black, doesn't participate in Greek life, or adhere to their standards of beauty. He tries, meekly, to stand up for himself, but the rules for acceptance are always changing. Tom's inability to keep up becomes the true mark of his outsider status. It would have been even more compelling, then, for Berger to have burrowed more deeply into Tom's life, to explore his need to belong. His conversations with Annabelle are, initially, a way to do that, but they don't go anywhere, and her character ends up feeling inconsequential. As the film careens toward its predictable conclusion, questions about Tom's desires and motivations keep cropping up. With no answers, the line ends on a deflating and strangely non-committal note. The stakes are higher for this working-class kid chasing his version of the American dream. And my mind wandered back to Richard at the end of The Secret History. Realizing just how much trouble he might be in, the novel's protagonist starts to panic and consider his situation. What did it matter if they failed to graduate, if they had to go back home? He wonders of his friends in the classic's major cabal. At least they had homes to go to. They had trust funds, allowances, dividend checks, doting grandmas, well-connected uncles, loving families. College for them was only a way station, a sort of youthful diversion. But this was my main chance, the only one. Distributed by Utopia, release states, June 9th, 2023, in Tribeca, October 18th, 2024, in United States, running time 100 minutes, country United States, language English. So guys, this is the review of the Line movie and some information about it. How do you like our today's video? Please let us know by commenting, and if you like this video, please like it, share it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.